It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Welcome back once again to Alley Chats, the podcast that features interviews with awesome creators that you would find in artist alleys at pop culture cons all over the world. You can follow Alley Chats on Facebook by searching for @AlleyChats. I plan to add other social media, but for now, that's the best place. You can send me an email directly to rob@alleychatspodcast.com with questions, comments, guest suggestions, whatever. I love to hear from you, so definitely use that email address. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way as well. I have another podcast called Go Fund This, where I interview people with crowdfunding campaigns for comics, tabletop games, movies, really anything creative. I love to share cool projects and to help people reach their goals and accomplish their dreams. You can connect with me via email directly at gofundthis@smgpods.com or through rob@alleychatspodcast.com. Today's guest is Marc Alan Fishman from Unshaven Comics. He is a friend of mine that has been begging to get on this show for a while. And really, like any good friend, I trolled him and I didn't let him on. But here he is. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Marc is one of my favorite people. He's really funny. Lots of great insights, lots of fun to talk to. And now that the seal's broken, we're going to have him back a lot. Marc, welcome to Alley Chats. This has been a long time coming, getting you on here. I know that you probably thought I was dodging you, avoiding you. None of that is true. Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, Marc Fishman from Unshaven Comics. Marc, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. And per the judge's request, we're more than 500 feet apart, right?
Yes. And okay. I actually had my wife take a tape measure and walk across it. It only went 100 feet, so she had to do it 5 times, but we made sure.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I'm
keeping
trouble. It that way too.
Not anymore.
No. So Marc, tell people who you are, what you do.
Well, I think by legal definition in the comic book world, I'm Marc Alan Fishman. I'm 1/3 of Unshaven Comics, which has been my studio since 2006, specifically for Unshaven Comics. I do everything. I write and I do half the art for our Samurnauts series. And then I maintain our social media, and I do some fun stuff at our actual booth. I've actually ended up half falling backwards into a second booth to go with our Unshaven comic booth. And then I like to consider myself Matt Wright's manager, because he doesn't get anything done until like literally walk it to him and like, hey, I got a project. You're going to do it. They're going to give you money now. But yeah, and aside from that, I'm Kyle Nepper's official coach, sales manager.
Nice.
I just look at him and I say, do it more. Keep selling.
Very good. Oh, you are quite the motivator.
Yes.
So Unshaven Comics, that you've been around for what? How many years?
Technically, our first book was 2008.
Wow.
So we're entering. I think somebody figured it out. Yeah, we're in year 15.
Wow. Well, congratulations, because I think your stuff is great. I love on your social media when you post your artwork, and when you do the some of it is like custom stuff about your family, the pictures. Marc, I love it. I love it so much. Now, can people, first of all, everybody listening, Mark's social media and that is going to be in the show notes, so we don't have to say it 800 times here. But I highly encourage you to check it out, to follow him. Uh, when I look at those images, you have things where you do like family pictures and make them all superheroes or Pokemon or whatever. Can people order that online from you? Is that like a site you have?
Yeah, well, yeah. So that specifically is its own little Facebook group called Fishtastic Family Portraits, and that came literally by way of just doing it over and over again. So I always, I guess to say the secret origin of all that is when my first son Bennett was born. I had done the birth announcement as a comic book, which
Yeah.
was this sequel to my wedding invitation, which was a comic book. And when he turned 1 that year, I did this homage cover to the Spider-Man, where Spider-Man No More.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
did like
He's
Baby
got
No
the
More, and I
nice.
just did it as a postcard. And we sent that out. It was, I think we used that to get people to come to his first birthday or something. And when we had that party, I don't know who it was at that party, but they're like, "Well, you're going to be doing that every year for him, right?" And I was
Oh,
like, well, and I'm thinking, I want to be the best dad in the world. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I said it then, and I'll still say it now. I'm like, yep, I'm doing this for the BuzzFeed article when he turned 16. When they're like, this dad makes a comic book thing for
yeah,
his
right.
kid every year. The problem is I kept having kids. Luckily, I have very agreeable children who understand that like that's Bennett's thing. Because if I had to do that, the first half of my year would just be making these things. And I will say, like, it did spawn off after we had my second son Colton. We did started doing holiday cards. And the first time I just took a funny picture. Like, we did kind of the what I call the Olin Mills. Everybody looks up and to the left, and we put like lasers behind us, and
Right,
we
right.
went thrifting for like 80s sweaters. And it was fun. The next year we didn't have time to take a fun photo, so I literally just do what I always do, snapped a bunch of photos and made a comic out of it. And we had sent that out as our holiday card, and that became this serialized storyline that every holiday season I send that card out. So between that and my son's birthday cards all kind of happening, in that same like 2-3 month period, that started adding up. And yeah, just like you were saying, I did remember the question. I'm getting there.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Eventually,
I'm just listening. I'm
oh,
enjoying
good.
it.
Eventually, well, anytime locally people have had charities, like charitable events, galas and whatnot, they've always come to me asking, hey, do you want to like donate money or something? I always say, can I donate like art? Can I do a commission for somebody? And that's kind of where it came from. Like, the first whatever gala for our school district came up, and I put that out, and apparently it started a minor bidding war because there were a couple families that wanted it. And at the end of that war, so to speak, I drew one family and I reached out to the other ones. I live in a small town. We all know each other. So I just messaged them on Facebook. I'm like, hey, if you want to donate what you were going to spend to the same people, I'll draw your family too. And they're like, oh my God, that's great. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. So that sort of begat this Fishtastic family portrait thing. And I always do them. I made the Facebook page just in case people are interested in doing that. Yeah, they can always message me, and it's always fun because I've had families that absolutely had their idea down, that told me like, I think of the McIntyre family. They're literally 2-3 blocks away. They came up to me. They're like, we got through the pandemic by watching Star Wars. We want to celebrate that this year with a Star Wars family portrait.
Oh,
I want to be Obi-Wan. My wife's got to be Leia. My kid's got to be Darth Maul. You got to make that happen. Or like, absolutely, I can figure that out. To getting to families that I have no idea. Like, you tell me what you want to do. So like, I went and took a bunch of photos of the family and tried to get the vibe, and then pitched to them afterwards. I'm like, oh, they had um, a big blonde son and a smaller black-haired son, and they kept fighting. And I was like, oh, this is Thor. You guys should just be Thor.
Thor and Loki.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's perfect." So like, we did a Thor portrait for them. So yeah, I've kind of been all across the board. I'd also highlight one of my personal favorites, this great family, the Baileys. The father, Matt Bailey, is the one-man band. He travels the country as a one-man band,
Cool.
does amazing shows. So I turned he and his family into Kiss.
Very nice. Oh, I've seen that one. You posted that.
Yeah, that one I loved, if only because like it took me about 5 nights to draw all the rhinestones. So I kind of did it to myself, and I was like,
Yeah,
well, you know what? It's done. I don't ever have to do it again
I
until the
feel
next
you.
family asks.
I
But
feel you on that one. You know, it's funny you say that. When I was a kid, one of my first times, like actually stepping out of the drawing things that look like sticks, not the band.
mhm.
I remember very distinctly. I got some Kiss cards, right? And one of them was that classic one where Gene Simmons is his foot is up, and they're all like, "Yeah, I can't rock and roll" or whatever is the cover.
I think it's the Destroyer. Yeah.
Destroyer, yeah. And I remember I wanted to be the coolest kid in school. So I took it was right at the beginning of school, and I'd gotten these cards, and I took that card, and it's like one of the few times I drew the hell out of that card. I put it on my own like folder. I had some of those paper folders we all had, and I just worked that thing until I had it right. And man, the rhinestones and the details, it was forever.
Oh yeah.
So I feel you on that. And
That's
I'm sure
it.
mine was not nearly as good as yours. I've never had uh, the ability. I have the artistic eye. I don't have the artistic hand. So
Well, mine only comes off a repetition, so I always am the first person to demur, like with Unshaven Comics very specifically. Matt is the artist between he and I. He can draw from his head brilliantly. I
yeah,
can't. But it was Matt who forced me to work into the interiors and even do any of this.
yeah,
I had got my degree in graphic design and I was doing graphic design work. And when we founded the company, it had been the idea that I would write along with Kyle, Matt would do the artwork, and I would do all the finishing. Like I would scan it, I would perfect it in Photoshop, I'd add all the
sure.
lettering, and I volunteered. Like, well, I'll do the cover. I'll figure out a way I can do that. And then when we decided to do the Samurnauts, if you want to dive into that origin, but effectively, by the time we got to that point, Matt basically, who is a much larger individual than I am, basically said, "You're going to do half the artwork." And fearing for my life, I said, "Okay, I will." And I said, "Well, like, but like my style doesn't look like your style, and I wouldn't even know where to begin." He's like, "Well, you're gonna have to figure it out." And because the idea of Samurnauts deals with time, we figured like, oh well, if we're working on the same story but in different time periods, the book can look different.
Yeah, right. Right.
And that became one of the hooks of selling it when we were able to put it out on the table. Like we said, at the time we released that, when the first Samurnaut book was 2011, so we had already been in the trenches 3-4 years, and we had pitched an educational book, we had pitched a horror book, a superhero book. When we pitched the Samurnauts, it is the first time we had heard verbatim, "Shut up and take my money."
Oh,
Like,
wow.
stop mid pitch. Like, how much is it? Okay, great, you're done.
Wow. Wow.
And we're like, oh well, I guess this is what we're doing now.
Well, the Samurnauts is awesome, and I love when you post pages. Once again, follow Mark on wherever, follow Unshaven Comments wherever. You'll see the links in the show notes, but he posts a lot of pages. I love them. I love the artwork. I love the dialogue you put in there. It's funny because I always get drawn in on your stuff, no pun intended whatsoever there. Where I start looking at all the little details. Like I'm looking right now, you've got a picture here of a fight with a monkey or a man with monkey feet and that. And I just want to really look at what's going on in this picture. You know what I mean? There's so much interesting stuff. It's very cinematic. And that's one thing that I think drew me to your booth originally was looking at some of the stuff and seeing how cinematic it was. Like, yeah, comics and cinema, there is that tie, but it's sometimes they're very distinctly one or the other. This one feels like I'm reading a movie, and I love that. I love that.
You'll get my check at the end of this. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
good, good. I
good.
wanted to make sure I wasn't laying it on too thick. Although if I lay it on thicker, maybe the check will be bigger.
You
Who
never
knows?
know.
And maybe it won't bounce. That would be whoo. Oh. So Semernauts, you said there's a
Yes.
story there.
Yeah. So effectively, when we started in comics, like all great Hollywood stories, we lied to make our way into the business. A friend of ours from high school Alexis Asimovich, her mother, Sylvia Mendoza, and her uncle, Henry, had Mendoza Publishing Company, which itself was a business with a very simple model. They converted books into Spanish for the Mexican market, and they sold books in Mexico, like trades, graphic novels, everything. Well, they had participated in this immigration march in Chicago in 2006, and this was the Si Se Puede march that had happened between Grant Park and Millennium. They loved that whole experience, and it was the first time Alexis's mom wanted to capture that in something original. And Alexis herself is an artist, so her mom calls her up and says, "Alexis, I want you to work on this comic idea of mine." Alexis starts it, realizes she's not really much for comics. It's just not her thing. But she goes, "Well, Mom, I remember Matt and Mark in AP Studio Art were like the comic guys. And, I see them on Facebook all the time. I bet you they make comics. I'll reach out." So she writes me and she's like, do you make comics, Mark? And I said, "Oh, yeah, all the time." Big lie. And we met with her mom and her uncle, who remains the scariest person I've ever met. I mean, he's a very nice guy after you get to know him, but like he sat down and ordered water with bitters. That's his drink.
Wow.
Which is the most boss power move you can make in a bar.
Yeah.
But no, they hired us hilariously. Like, they give us the pitch and we said, "Oh yeah, we can do that." And then Henry looks us up and he goes, "You've never drawn a comic book in your life, have you?" I go, "No, sir, we haven't." But like, but we like understand the concept. He's like, "Yeah, we're all in." So we worked on that first book with them for a year and a half. Because we're all, at that point, we're all boyfriends with serious girlfriends working full-time jobs. So, we had to get into that rhythm. We finished that book. We put it out to the cons. We then started pitching. After we finished their book, we kind of looked at each other and said, "This is fun. We should continue to do this, but let's make our own stories." And we're in our 20s. So we had a lot of swearing and gore that we had to get out of the system.
Absolutely.
So we did like a rated R horror book. We did this rated R superhero story. The whole idea was like each book was going to be this one and done, but we kind of put them in a shared universe, kind of a Twilight Zone-y thing. And at the back of our first book, we had a blank page, like the inside back cover. We didn't have enough friends, like Southgate didn't come around. We would have sold you the back page because I didn't know that you could do that. So I just Matt, Kyle, and I went out to Baker Square like we basically always did through high school. And I should note, the three of us have known each other since junior high, 1993. So we went out to Baker Square. We sat down for pie and coffee. And, I just brought it up as a topic of conversation. I'm like, we've got this blank page and I'd rather not just waste it with like a bunch of thank yous because it's a 24-page comic. It would be stupid to have like a thank you page. We should make a fake ad.
Yeah.
And they're like, "About what?" I'm like, "We should make a fake ad about the book that our fans will know when we've sold out. Like, we don't even care anymore. We're just trying to cash a check."
Right.
And Kyle thinks about that and he goes, "Well, I just saw this episode of Samurai Jack where Samurai Jack was out in outer space." And I was like, "Samernaut. That's a cool name."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Okay, so what is that? Like, what are we gonna what should it be?" And then like it just became this like Frankenstein's monster of, it should have a monkey. He should be immortal. It should have dinosaurs.
Yeah,
And
right.
We took all these notes. Matt went back to the drawing board and he sketched out like these 5 guys in hazmat suits and a monkey and a dinosaur.
The monkey's the greatest, by the way.
Oh yeah. And
I can't stop looking at the monkey.
And I must have put 25 hours of photoshopery in trying to make this fake ad. And we put it in the back page and I put on the bottom, and this is coming out in 2010-ish, 11. I said, "Coming in the summer of 2020, Samernauts are go." And we threw that in the back page completely just as a joke.
Yeah.
That was issue 1. We did issue 2 as the superheroes thing. So here comes issue 3. And the three of us are kind of like back at the drawing board. And I'm like, none of us had any ideas like of what we wanted to do. And at the time, Matt and I are going to become fathers. So we both have pregnant wives. We know the kids are coming early 2012. And I said, well, we got that Sammernaut ad. Like, why don't we do kind of like it's like we'll put it in this whole like Twilight Zone thing. The Twilight Zone thing was quote the white, sort of was like the white of the page, like the gutters.
Yeah, sure.
And the lead, this character who was trapped there, like the whole idea was like he would run up to these portals, the portals became the book. We're like, what if he realizes he can control this like a lucid dream, and he's going to recall his favorite episode of a cartoon show that he watched growing up called The Sammernauts, and that's the book. So we did this within the universe, the Sammernaut book. Matt told me I'm going to split art duty, so we did 12 pages each. He did the flashbacks, and he did like these beautiful 11 by 17 watercolor paintings, and then I did my digital style. At the time, I took pictures of an improv comedy group that I was working with, and they all became superheroes. We put that book out, and like I said, the first time we pitched it, we were told to shut up, take our money, because we had three issues, and we were like, how do we even pitch three? I'm like, well, Kyle's thing by this point, and he is the best salesman in Artist Alley, fight me. He's like, well, we only pitch the new thing. You always pitch the new thing, and if people are interested, they'll go backwards. And when we started pitching out the Sammernauts, this is a case again where people just told us to shut up. They really liked the idea. Like, we had hit that perfect storm of a pitch where in 22 seconds with 8 seconds left for jazz hands, we could bowl people over with enough adjectives that they couldn't take it anymore. And they're like, yep, like, you don't even have to explain it to me. Like, yes, how much is it? We'll take it. And because we are very much into the metrics of what we do, when I came home and we started calculating how those sales were going, and we were outpacing issue 3 sales of issue 1 and 2 combined, like, it was a no-brainer. Like, this is where we go.
This is the thing. Yeah, that is amazing. And I get it though, because there is something about it. When you first told me about it, I was completely drawn in. Like I said, for me, I think there's something about your monkey guy. He completely draws me in every time. Those weird feet. But I love the whole vibe. And you guys are great in Artist Alley. You're a lot of fun. In fact, I think before I met you, my wife and daughter met you guys, and they came to me and said, you got to go talk to these guys. You're going to like them. So that's how that happened. So we're going to run out of time. I can't believe this. We have so much more to talk about. So I'm going to make you come back on.
Anytime.
Yeah. And let's do this. Next time we'll get to actually talk about cons too, because that's some of the thing we talk about on here. But let's do this. Tell people where they can commission, where they can reach out to you, where they can order your stuff.
Absolutely. Well, right now, I know this is the hip place where all the kids congregate. Just go to Facebook. It's coming back around again. You don't have to worry about TikTok. If you go to facebook.com/Unshaven Comics, that's where you can reach. All roads lead to me. So don't worry. If you message Unshaven Comics, it comes to me. If you go to facebook.com/ I believe it's Fishtastic Family Portraits, you will reach that page, and you can commission me there by just sending a message. Or honestly, I'm pretty friendly. Just go to facebook.com/unshavenmark. That's me, like my personal page. You can send me a friend request. Just put in the message that you found me through this podcast and that you're not a jerk. And all you got to do from there is tell me what you want, and we can kind of go from there. I'm very amicable when I talk to people on Facebook when they go through these things. I make the process super simple, whether you're local and I come to you and we make stuff happen, or you are remote and you provide me material otherwise. There's plenty of examples to go take a look at there. And for the Poke fanatics out there, you can also just put into the old Google machine Poke mashups, and I'm sure you'll see that terrifying amalgamation that I've been forced to do.
But it's fantastic, which is really funny. I see why people are buying them like crazy. We have so many friends that are way into that Pokemon stuff, and oh my God, I'm starting to send it around to them saying, okay, here's the guy you can order this from because you'd love it. Because
Yep.
it's absolutely in their wheelhouse. You've hit on something there.
It's like everything else that happens by accident. It's all happy accidents, and it was once again Matt's fault. He
Damn it,
told me
Matt.
he told me I needed to like put stuff at the booth, and I just made the notion. I was like, I just want to make dinner money. I just want to make enough money at the con that I could afford to go out to dinner and not dip into my own personal funds. That was always the goal, and it snowballed brutally from there because I can knock these things out in a night. And I don't know if this is my mutant ability that came out by accident, but yes. And for those paying attention closely to that, I will say that Poke Mashups is growing exponentially. By Labor Day, I'm adding a third rack to the table.
Wow. Hey.
Yay.
Yeah. Get busy, Mark. But you know what?
That's what we
We're
can
going to actually get you a your own handcuff to keep you at that table. So
It'll have to happen. What I'm really hoping for is my one of my kids yesterday guilted me. He's like, "Dad, when do I get to come to the con?"
as soon as you learn how to draw, son.
Oh, my middle
And I
one
paid
can.
and I
Oh,
paid 10 cents on the dollar.
hey, my middle kid he's a budding artist, and he's pretty damn good. I'd say at his age, but I did tell him like him and my oldest, I was like, if you guys want to come to the con and work a booth with me, like
Oh,
you could totally take the money for Pokemon. And my oldest kid, totally mine. He goes, "How much does that pay?"
yeah. And I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to go under contract for that amount. And then anything I make over it is a bonus. But you're going to pay me that amount. Yeah, I get it. I get
You
it.
know what? It happens. It's one of my favorite con memories. I know we got to go, but I'll say real quick. He sat at the table, and he must have been 5, 6, and he sees Uncle Kyle pitching. He sees me pitching at the time, and I was doing something at the cash box, and a gentleman came up. Kyle was taking a break. My kid stands up and he goes, "Hi, it's my dad's comic. Do you want it? It's $5." And the guy looks at it and like he looks at me and I was like, "Oh, Bennett, you don't have to like let the man just kind of thumb through it. It's fine." And the guy puts it back on the rack very politely. And then Bennett goes, "Why don't you want it? It's only $5."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Oh, Bennett, like it's okay, sir. You have a great day." He walks away. And I told Bennett, like, "You don't have to do that, man. Like, I appreciate it." Kyle's on the floor dying.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, my wife comes, she takes Bennett away. I'm not lying. 10 minutes later, the guy comes back and he's like, "You know what? I actually want that book. Is your kid here? I want him to see it." And I was like, "He just left with my wife, but I promise you I'll tell him." And I did when I got home, and he's like, "Oh, that's great. So what do I get?"
Yep. And
like,
I
"You
was
get
right, Dad.
Yeah. And as I told that to Kyle, and he's like, "We have a whole new way to get people to buy our books. Savagery."
Yeah, my daughter is very similar. I mean, if we put her in front of a booth, game over. She is going to sell it. So hopefully they'll keep that as they get older. You know, professional selling is actually something that they could use throughout their lives. So
Yes.
all right, Mark, that's it. All the links are in the show notes. And Mark, you are welcome back anytime. In fact, we'll get you on some other shows. So everybody that liked this interview, which I'm sure you did, this was a blast. Keep following our Facebook, follow our Twitter. I think I have a Twitter for this, but follow our Facebook for sure, and or follow me. And I will make sure when Mark is guesting on other things that we are always promoting it. So, Mark, thank you again, and go crush it at the cons. What's the next con they can find you at?
Fan Expo Philadelphia.
There you go. Go to Philly. Go to Fan Expo. Bring $5. Bring more than that. Get one of those Pokemon mashups too.
Yeah, bring $5 for the Pokemon. Bring $20 for the Sammernauts. It's worth it.
There you go. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Mark, for coming on and talking about Unshaven Comics and comic books and conventions, and really just, that was great. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I promise to have you back again in the very near future. You can find links to Unshaven Comics and to Mark's commission work and any other links we discussed in the show notes. If you or anyone you know wants to guest on Alley Chats, send them my way. You can connect with me through the Alley Chats Facebook page or via email directly at rob@alleychatspodcast.com. Alley Chats is a production of Southgate Media Group. It's hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to Alley Chats. We'll talk to you next time.